it's not very good, is it? And I mean, that's putting it mildly. What's been so interesting is I regarded the advent of With Love Meghan rather like I regarded root canal surgery. It's one of those things that you know it's coming. You really don't want.
When Netflix cancels your show for being too fake even by Hollywood standards, you know it's bad. And not just mildly disappointing, we're talking about a spectacular implosion. Meghan Markle's highly publicized series With Love, Meghan has officially been pulled from the streaming giant's lineup. Season 2, never happening. But the real story isn't just about poor ratings. It's about deception, ego, and a level of manipulation so intense. Even seasoned executives at Netflix were left speechless. What began as a $100 million dream deal has now morphed into one of the most humiliating PR disasters of Meghan's post-royal career. Before we go any further, hit that subscribe button because what you're about to hear will change how you see Meghan Markle forever. And trust me, this rabbit hole runs deep. It all started with promise. After stepping away from royal life, Meghan and Harry inked a massive multi-year content deal with Netflix, pitched as a bold new chapter where they could finally tell their truth. With Love, Meghan was meant to be her intimate docuseries reflecting her values, her voice, and her vision for a better world. But behind that polished exterior was a festering storm of lies, staged moments, and ethical violations that would ultimately bring the entire production crashing down. Let's start with one of the most outrageous revelations: the staged charity work. In what was supposed to be a heartfelt episode, Meghan is seen reading to children at a local literacy center. It looked wholesome, emotional, even inspiring, except it wasn't real. According to a production assistant who later leaked details, the children were hired actors, the so-called local volunteers. Meghan's own staff dressed in civilian clothes. Even the books and donated supplies were returned immediately after filming. What looked like a sincere act of community service turned out to be pure fiction, scripted and sanitized to sell an image for a platform like Netflix, which prides itself on authentic storytelling. This wasn't just embarrassing, it was a direct hit to credibility. Executives were said to be livid. Legal teams scrambled to assess the damage. What Meghan had sold as truth was, in fact, a carefully staged performance. And that was just the beginning. Then came the emotional storytelling. Those tearful monologues Meghan delivered directly to the camera, her voice trembling as she recalled being racially profiled in a grocery store, or the pain of being abandoned while pregnant by unnamed members of the royal family. But here's the kicker. One of those stories was nearly identical word for word to a Reddit post from 2017. Researchers and sharp-eyed viewers uncovered the disturbing similarities. Meghan told it as her own lived experience. Netflix's fact-checkers were alarmed. They found other inconsistencies too. Emotional moments lifted from the internet, secondhand stories disguised as first-person truth. It wasn't just lazy writing, it was emotional plagiarism and intentional attempt to manipulate the audience into sympathy. And Netflix, they felt duped. Even worse, some scenes weren't just written, they were manufactured in post-production. Remember that viral clip of Meghan sitting quietly on her couch, gently clutching Archie's stuffed toy while tears streamed down her face? Heartbreaking, right? Except there's just one problem. Meghan didn't cry. Editors have confirmed that the sound of soft weeping was added later. The music composed to tug at your heartstrings was layered in after the fact. It was emotional bait, and the viewers took it. But Netflix's legal problems didn't stop at fakery and fraud. They escalated into royal warfare. In one segment, Meghan implied that a senior member of the royal family emotionally abandoned her while she was pregnant. That's a serious allegation. But when Netflix's legal team asked for documentation, there was none. No dates, no witnesses, no evidence. Lawyers immediately flagged the scene as potentially defamatory, warning that if aired, it could lead to lawsuits from Buckingham Palace. Netflix had to act fast. The segment was quietly removed, but the trust already broken. Behind the scenes, panic set in, and Meghan's insistence on complete creative control was only making things worse. While the legal fires burned, things were falling apart inside the production as well. Crew members began leaking stories of what they described as a toxic work environment. Meghan, they said, was controlling to the point of obsession. She would demand last-minute script changes that directly contradicted earlier edits. She berated staff over minor mistakes. She insisted on approving every shot, every line of narration, every second of music. One assistant described her as hostile and impossible to please. Another said morale got so bad, Netflix had to bring in conflict resolution specialists. But the damage was done. Many staff refused to come back for a second season. The project, which was supposed to humanize Meghan, was becoming a backstage horror show, and the fallout didn't stop there. In what might be the most disturbing twist yet, Several scenes featuring Meghan's children raised serious legal red flags. According to insiders, the footage lacked proper documentation, no time-stamped permissions, no third-party release forms. In some shots, production staff reportedly couldn't confirm whether the children shown were actually Archie and Lilibet. Whispers of stand-in actors began circulating. Netflix's lawyers feared a breach of child protection laws. As a result, scenes were pulled, and any future projects involving the children would now require strict legal oversight. Then came the celebrity exodus. Oprah, Ellen, Serena Williams, even Michelle Obama. All had been floated as potential guests or commentators for the series. But not a single one agreed to participate. Sources say they backed out after reviewing early episode drafts. They didn't want to be associated with a vanity project built on deception. Even in Hollywood, a place that thrives on illusion, Meghan had gone too far. The most damning moment came when a confidential Netflix memo was leaked to the press, circulated between top executives just weeks before the show was canceled. It read, "We can no longer treat Meghan Markle as an asset. She is a reputational liability. Her content lacks credibility. The backlash is damaging brand trust." That line alone sent shockwaves through the industry. The memo didn't stop at reputation damage. It also recommended a legal review of all Meghan-related content to prevent future lawsuits. Quietly, executives began halting pre-production on any new shows tied to her brand. Meetings were canceled. Calls went unreturned. Meghan Markle, once seen as the future of Netflix's streaming revolution, had become too toxic to touch. But what may have sealed the coffin was the brutal audience response. After a moderately strong premiere, the numbers nosedived. By episode 3, viewer engagement had dropped by over 60%. People weren't just tuning out, they were actively turning against the show. On social media, former supporters voiced their disillusionment. One viral tweet read, "I wanted to love this, but it's just Meghan playing misunderstood victim in every scene. It's not inspiring, it's exhausting." Another said, "This isn't a documentary, it's a monologue." In disguise, Netflix's internal analytics confirmed the trend. Mass drop-offs mid-episode, low rewatch value, and a spike in not interested flags. That's the digital equivalent of walking out of the theater. For a platform driven by algorithmic engagement, these numbers were catastrophic. And while the content fell apart, so did the image. Meghan's team reportedly fought to push forward a media narrative that the show was a misunderstood work of art, but insiders knew better. The entire concept crafted around Meghan's truth had been exposed as an ego-driven spectacle. One that confused vulnerability with vanity and truth with spin. Her refusal to accept feedback, her micromanaging of every scene, her obsession with control, it all contributed to what one former producer called a documentary by dictatorship. Seasoned editors were told to cut any footage that didn't flatter Meghan. Clips where she seemed uncertain or less poised were removed. Any moment where she could be perceived as wrong or unsure, gone. Authenticity had been sacrificed at the altar of perfection, and viewers could sense it. The show didn't feel real because it wasn't. And Meghan? She reportedly saw the backlash as a targeted smear campaign. She blamed Netflix for not promoting the show better. She blamed editors for misrepresenting her intentions. But what she didn't do was take accountability. According to one source, Meghan threatened to pull all future projects unless she retained full creative control. Netflix refused. The relationship collapsed. Let's not forget, this isn't Meghan's first media disaster. Her podcast deal with Spotify was quietly terminated. Her children's book failed to break through in sales. And her public image, once bolstered by a sympathetic Oprah interview, has been steadily deteriorating with every new project. Critics have long accused her of prioritizing optics over substance. But with love, Meghan didn't just support that claim, it practically screamed it. Hollywood is brutal, but it rewards two things above all: authenticity and results. Meghan, by this point, had neither. The results were abysmal, and the authenticity fabricated. Even sympathetic media outlets found it hard to defend her. Headlines began to shift from trailblazer to troublemaker. Former allies distanced themselves. Meghan's PR machine, once so polished, was now in crisis mode, and in the aftermath of the cancellation, Meghan's brand is facing what some call an irreversible decline. With Netflix walking away, one of her last major platforms has been lost. Other networks are reportedly hesitant to engage with her on future content, unless strict oversight is enforced. In an industry built on trust, even if that trust, Netflix is said to be recalibrating. Their focus now shifts toward projects with proven credibility. The Sussex experiment was a gamble that backfired, and no one is more aware of that than the executives who greenlit it in the first place. Some have reportedly taken internal heat for allowing Meghan such broad creative freedom. Others are quietly grateful it ended before more damage could be done. The final irony? Meghan built a brand around the idea that she had been silenced, that she was finally getting to speak her truth. But when given a global microphone and total control, what emerged wasn't truth, it was theater, and not even a convincing one. The public didn't see a brave survivor reclaiming her voice. They saw a carefully curated performance designed to generate applause, not honesty. What's left now is fallout, and for Meghan, it's likely just beginning. Asterisk, so where does she go from here? Will she attempt to rebrand once more? Shift her focus to children's content, lifestyle products, or activism? Or will she retreat, recalibrate, and disappear from public life, at least for a while? What we do know is that the industry is watching, executives, PR firms, producers, everyone, because Meghan Markle's Netflix implosion isn't just a celebrity scandal, it's a cautionary tale about what happens when image overtakes authenticity, when storytelling becomes manipulation, when truth becomes just another script. And as the dust settles, one thing is painfully clear: the fairy tale is over, and the cameras are no longer rolling. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We've got more deep dives coming into the celebrity PR disasters, the rise and fall of media empires, and the secrets they don't want you to hear.